you guys?
Same thing.
I bet.
Yeah. Trying to stay safe.
Yeah, it's getting tough for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn this light off. Maybe it's better. No.
Hello, Jeffrey and Larry.
I did. Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah. Is that Jeff?
Yeah, it's me.
You kind of froze up.
Okay. Larry's here too. I don't see your video though.
No,
don't see your
I
name.
yeah, I'm gonna turn that on in a sec.
Okay.
Make sure my hair is okay. What little I have.
You look great, Dave.
What was that? Oh, hey.
You look great, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Emily.
Mr. Sherman, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good.
Bob Corbett said he's having problems getting in, so I don't know if he's in yet. If he's on, but he's working as we speak.
Okay.
Anyone see Bob Corbett? I don't see him yet. I know you
Yeah.
you said he was having issues.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there, I see him. Oh, see he's logged on. Okay, we're just waiting until 7:30, but it looks like all of council is on. All right, the time is 7:30. Is the clerk ready?
I am.
Time is 7:30. Time is 7:30. This is the regularly scheduled council meeting for July 27th. I call it to order. Clerk, can you please take a roll call?
Councilman Bliss,
I'm here.
Councilwoman Clark,
Here.
Councilman Corbett,
Here.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Here.
Councilman Soltis,
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
I'm here, thank you. Our invocation tonight is from Councilwoman Clark, and it will be followed by her leading the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could stand, if you could, please.
Are we doing the invocation or the Pledge of Allegiance first?
Oh, sorry. We're doing the invocation. You are correct.
Okay, have a seat, everyone. So tonight's invocation I wanted to read. I have a dear friend named Dennis Collier who, when inspired, sends me some of the most beautiful poetry that he comes up with on the fly. So I wanted to read one of his poems tonight. Half-truths, spawn of lies, untenable yet seen as respectable deceit, virulent strains awash in unchecked dualistic thinking, accommodated in a cacophonous voice for attention. Of weighted choice, the default, half knowing, of the ear inattentive to conscience. That core gift in the heart of man where knowing is before thinking will's choice. Conscience flows in knowing, cadence as harmonious function within the ontologically transparent selfless. Receptivity of listening love, mind made by holy, where truth lives wholly. For half-truths, man fights for and kills for truth unalloyed, man lives for and dies for. Now you can stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
This is Clark, if you'll lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to do the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach.
I move that council adds an item on the agenda, I think it would be under C, appointing Rosalind Grafstein as mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Councilwoman Clark, was that you?
Yes, I'll support.
Great, thank you. There has been a motion and a second to add Rosalind Grafstein to the appointment of mayor under section C, or D3. Or not sure where it's going there, but to add that to the agenda. Is there any discussion?
It would actually be item D4.
D4, thank you, Mrs. Marsh. All right. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor.
Councilman Bliss?
So I truly believe that we are in some incredibly difficult times. And so my vote would have to be no. I firmly believe that we need somebody who has the prerequisite experience to be able to take us forward. And so I cannot support anybody in their first term on council.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach.
I guess this is more of a point of order. Is this a discussion on the appointment of Rosalind Grafstein as mayor, or is this the discussion about putting it on the agenda?
This is a discussion about putting it on the agenda.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion about putting this item on the agenda?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach.
I do believe that this is an important conversation for us to have, and you know, we need to have it in public and have this discussion about the pros and cons of our appointment and the choices that we have ahead of us. And we can vote on it whether or not it goes forward and the appointment is made at that time. But I believe it would be appropriate for us to put it on the agenda in order to have this discussion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
No.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis,
No.
Councilman Bliss,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
I vote yes, so the motion fails. So there will be no vote tonight. Thank you. Are there any other additions or deletions? All right, next up, we have presentations. First up, we have public hearings. First up, meeting open to the public. This is the chance for the public to speak. I'm going to look and see if there's anyone has their hands up, anyone wants to make a comment from the public.
Mayor
Yeah,
Grafstein.
hello.
I'm hearing
is,
a couple of different
okay.
people. So just hold on a second. This is all new. So give us a second here. I'm looking to see who, I heard, I think 2 people.
Yeah, this is Jeff Hilliard, 29091 Sherry Avenue.
Okay.
Been a 20-year Madison Heights resident. I wanted to take the opportunity first and foremost in these difficult times that our nation is experiencing, right, to thank the council for the work that they have done and the work that the community expects them to do kind of going forward. With that, a few things that I wanted to just, remind the council. It's not, I know better, but being a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army, I'm familiar with, the oath that I took, and I'm very familiar with the oath that our elected officials take, both in the state of Michigan as well as in the United States, and supporting the Constitution of the United States in all facets. Yes, the opportunity to change things, our Constitution allows that, I think, but it is required that our elected officials support the Constitution of the United States in everything that they do, whether it's sitting in the council seat or out in public. I think our city employees are always told that they represent the city in all that they do, and I would ask that the council do the same. With that, a couple things I'm interested in hearing about. Maybe they won't come up tonight. The thin blue line conversation that happened in the last meeting. I think it's a little bit bringing a problem where there isn't a problem to the American law enforcement officer and or the things that represent them. I think it's important that we take a look and we evaluate law enforcement and the problems that we have as a nation, but we do not go with the groundswell without really digging into those issues and making decisions. Last but not least, the Crime and Culture Commission, I saw that on the agenda. In my opinion, I'm hoping to hear more conversation around that. What I read in the agenda, that, changing it to a human right than trying to impact the outcomes based on culture, I think they don't fit. They both start with C. That's about all they have in common. So I'm interested in hearing that conversation. And then last but not least, just making sure that in all of our social comments, right, that the perception of support for violence or working against the federal government or working against our local first responders, that is taken into an account before words are put down on the screen. And I'll thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Who would like to talk next? If you put up your hand or you say something, I can.
I do have something to say when you're ready for me, okay?
Oh, okay, sorry. I hear someone, is that Sipes? Josh Sipes, yes. I think I see your hand, I hear you. Yes, please, Mr. Sipes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Josh Sykes. I'm the current treasurer of the Lessinger PTO. I was the past president. I've had 3 boys come up through Lessinger, and that is where I met Rosalind Grafstein when my oldest son was a student at Lessinger. We had an immediate connection. I work in finance at General Motors, and she has a financial background as a chartered financial analyst. So we always had something to talk about, and I followed her throughout the years as she has embarked on her political career. And I've been very impressed with everything that I've seen from her. Even though she no longer has students at Lessinger, she still comes back as a member of the community, participates in our Walk to School Day, which my wife and I help organize every year. She comes back for our fun run as a representative of the council. And she was even present at our anti-bullying presentation assembly that we had earlier this year. So she is a very involved member of the community. I know she also appears at other schools. I'm just only aware of the ones that are the appearances at Lessinger. She's passionate about protecting our children and all the residents and in Madison Heights, and everyone who has encountered her knows this. When Mayor Hartwell was out of the country on personal business, planned personal business, and she had thrust upon her the eyes of the nation, I guess. It's kind of cliche, but as Green News was coming out on 696, she was suddenly in national news. And she handled that with courage and compassion. She was able to articulate the environmental impact and the impact on the Madison Heights community in a way that was very impressive, very calm, and able to get information to the residents in a way that made everyone feel as at ease as they could, given what was going on. So I just came to support Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Rosalind Grafstein. And I think as you go into what appears to be a special election at this point, I think she would be a great candidate for mayor of Madison Heights. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have Vita Palazzolo. Vita, are you there? And Amber, you're after that.
I don't think my picture's up, but I am here. So.
We can hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. First of all, to City Council and Your Honor, I just piggyback on the first gentleman that spoke. I can't thank you enough for your passion and commitment to our city during these very interesting times. And I thank you for that, for what you're doing, and individually and collectively. So little pat on the back for all of you. And again, to the first gentleman that spoke, thank you so much for your service in the military. We appreciate you. And kind of be nice to see you on some committees. I think you have some good words of wisdom from your experience. And then also, I just wanted to thank City Councilwoman Kim Clark and Melissa Marsh, our wonderful city manager. Thank you so much for securing a place for us to have our very first pantry, Madison Heights Food Pantry. The need has always been here, and it just opened our eyes, oh my gosh, tenfold, 100-fold when we saw cars lining up in the second week of March. And we continue to feed our community, surrounding communities, Hazel Park, Ferndale, Warren, and whoever else pulls up. So as the community resource coordinator and also the vice president of the board, I am very honored to partner with our city, and looking forward to what we can do when we get our nonprofit status. So thank you for standing behind us, and thank you for just, looking out for our community, because we do want to move forward, and we need our strong council to continue to help us do that. So take care of yourselves, and please be safe, and thank you again.
Great, thank you. Amber, you are up next, and then Chris, I have
That's
you
it.
after Amber. Thank you, Vita. Amber, here we go.
Hello, Your Honor. This is my first council meeting speaking at. My name's Amber Thompson. I'm a resident at 1677 Ann Terrace. I've been a long resident of Madison Heights since I was probably 5 years old. And I'm actually speaking on behalf of Councilman Mark Bliss tonight and showing my support for him. I know that there's probably a special election coming up with everything going on in our city. And I feel that experience is definitely important within the city. And Mark, you know, I've known since I was little, and he goes above and beyond for Madison Heights. Like, he's evolved on, you know, the arts board. He tries to be at all like the community events. He tries to push for like different things basically to benefit the city for the better. You know, after all, we are the city of progress. And I've also worked on Mark's campaign a few years ago to help with getting on the council. So if you want somebody that would really be best, you know, for looking out for the city, I highly recommend him. You know, he's definitely there. He always listens to the residents, you know, concerns that they have, and he does what he can to address those concerns too. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. I think I said that Chris and then Cheryl and then Mary are up. So Chris, you're up.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Chris Molencup. I've been in Madison Heights for almost 26 years. I moved here because I like the city and I want to raise my family here. One of the things I realize about community, and this is the most important thing about any mayor position that we have, is the involvement within that community. Myself, I got involved with Parks and Recs coaching. I got involved in the schooling. I got involved in scouting and also part of the men's club. When I first met Brian, it was in the men's club, and he taught me the importance of actually how volunteering and that can assist the city and individuals when the resources aren't available. It gives a lot of the seniors help when they need it. And definitely when the city is going through harder times like they are right now, it's a great assistance to them. It also creates a pride within the citizens themselves. When you can help a human being or the citizen or the city itself and make it a beautiful place, it's a great thing to have.
Amen.
As mayor, you have to understand the importance of working with our youth also. There was a time I asked Brian to show up to our Cub Pack and talk to them a little bit about what it means about leadership in the community. After he left, the parents told me about how important it was and the impact it made on the children. From that point on, they've always been involved, helping out, you know, doing cleanups, helping in the park, assisting in any way they can. The city council has also acknowledged them. These are going to be some of our future leaders, and I think that's an important aspect to have within a mayor. I believe the requirements for our future mayor should not be about whether they're a man or a woman. It should not be about whether they were born here or not in the city. It should be about having the best candidate. This candidate should be a mayor that has had some experience and also represent the city of Madison Heights. They need to be actively involved within the community and be a role model for our children. I asked City Council tonight to unite and actually choose a mayor for our city. I would like to give that new mayor a chance so that they can actually be empowered and actually make a difference. I think that mayor has to be involved regularly within the community. The person that I can always see when Brian wasn't there was always Rosalind. You know, she was there through the tree planting, fire hydrant painting, raking with the seniors, etc. A lot of things. And I asked council to consider Rosalind. Everything I mentioned is probably the most important about community and actually being involved within the community. So that's my part. And I really hope the city council truly takes what I say and think about that when they make their decision. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Molencup. I said next up is Cheryl. Cheryl, are you there?
I am, but I can go last. I just didn't want to.
Oh, Cheryl, you. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought, okay, sorry. All right, yes, Cheryl is our city clerk and she has comments that she's going to read in. So we just wanted to give the people who called in. All right, I think the next up was Mary Bush. Are you on? Vita, Amber, Mary. All right.
She's still on, she's just muted.
She's just muted? Okay, I'm looking for her. Really was much easier when people stood in front of you and you could see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, all right, Mary, you're on.
Good,
Can hear
thank you. To start with, I really appreciate the fact that you guys are doing these Zoom meetings. And I thought it was really important for us to attend tonight, basically because it is ridiculous that a city our size has to have a special election to get a new mayor, when what we have right now is a mayor pro tem who's doing a perfectly fine job and could fill those shoes until a regular election. And I'm really cheesed that the paternalistic people of the council won't even bring it to a vote tonight to have a discussion about it. And I gotta tell you, in my heart of hearts, if it were a regular election, I would have voted for Mark Bliss to be the next mayor. But his attitude and vehemence about how you don't have enough experience is absolute baloney. And I cleaned that up because I know you're recording this and I'm on Zoom. And that makes me question his character about who he puts first, the city or his own ego. And I'm so angry right now, I can hardly stand it. And I like Mark, but just the fact that he jumped the gun and said he wouldn't vote and then won't even have the vote for you tonight, I'm angry about that. So just know that that's all I want to say about this. But I hope you all figure out a way to do your jobs and elect a mayor amongst the council without us having to pay for a special election. Thank you very much. This was Mary Bush from 1117 East Hudson. Thank you.
Mary. Thank you, Mary. All right, was there anyone from, any other resident who wanted to speak before Cheryl reads into the comments? Once, twice, all right.
Yes, there is Sean Fleming.
Oh, Sean Fleming, okay, sorry, I didn't.
And right.
Sean, are you there?
Muted.
Sean, I can see you, you need to unmute. Well, I can't see you, I can see your name. Can you unmute?
Yep.
Oh, okay, you're unmuted, Sean, go ahead, we should be able to hear you.
Hey, no problem, thanks. So tonight I wanted to address the council.
Sorry, Sean, is there
yes.
any way, you're very quiet, is there any way you can adjust something?
Yeah, how's this any better?
Much better, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, no
Thank
problem.
you.
All right. So I wanted to address the council on the dissolution of the Crime Commission and the fact that the Crime Commission, their mission is to study the crime situation in the city, to make recommendations for its prevention and elimination, and to develop a cooperation of the citizens in law enforcement. This is in almost a stark difference from the mission that's being presented and proposed for the Human Relations and Equity Commission, which if you read the statement for that is a replacement for the Multicultural Commission, which I believe we really desperately need here in our city. So when I'm asking the council, when they think about dissolving the Crime Commission, that they also take in consideration that we're not taking the mission of the Crime Commission and having it done by a Human Relations and Equity Commission. It doesn't include the mission from the old Crime Commission at all, and I don't perceive that the big mission for the newly formed Human Relations and Equity Commission would be able to handle all of it in one encompassing commission at all. I think they should still both exist simultaneously, you know, at the same time, and that maybe we can also have great citizens also, you know, that can develop relationships with law enforcement officers and the community and such, and you know, build that cohesion between the law enforcement community and the citizens. All right, that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sean. Sorry, Melissa, did you say there was another?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Another person?
Colleen Porter, I think, just spoke.
Colleen Porter. Okay, thank you, Colleen.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually wasn't going to speak tonight, but after some of the discussion that just happened, I felt the need to speak. I would like to also I appreciate, like Vita said, I also serve on the board for the Madison Heights Food Pantry, and I appreciate all the city's support with that. But I also would like to make some comments on some comments that were made earlier about the voting for who to put on for this evening, about voting for the mayor. I can count on one hand in the last 6 years of city council meetings that I have not either watched on television or have attended. And I have to say that in those last 6 years, even though it is your first, Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein's first term on council, that she has done more in her first term than some of these other previous council members that I have seen. So I want to thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Who is next? Is there anyone?
No, we're.
Oh, sorry, I see Mr. Rob Wilkinson. I believe you have your hand up. You are not muted, or you are muted. Mr. Wilkinson, am I getting you right? I'm going to give you a.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Wilkinson, please go ahead.
Thank you. I live at 30248 Winthrop Drive. I've been a Madison Heights resident for over 25 years. And there was something that was recently brought to my attention, that a city council person is a moderator of a group which is called Facebook for Activists. And one of the posts on this page was calling for finding out where DHS agents are going to be coming to the city, where they'll be staying, who will be serving them food, items to bring to disrupt these agents from the federal government. And the moderator, who is a city councilwoman, was approving this. In fact, it was hashtag activists activate. And as a service member, I just don't think that that's right for a voted city council person to be actively going against federal government rules and regulations and order and law. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilkinson. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak?
May I chime in, Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein?
Mr. Nailu, yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Nailu, and I'm owner of Interstate Auto Care in Madison Heights. Been there for 20 years, continue to be. Extremely proud of our community. Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein would be absolutely fine mayor, just as a few other members on this council will make a fine mayor. You good people are going to decide, hopefully, without a special election, whether this is going to be possible or not. My only 2 cents worth in here, not adjusted for inflation, mind you, is that experience matters. As a member of this community for the last 20 years, I've seen Councilman Bliss come through time and time again. He's been a great advocate of the community, not unlike other members of this council, mind you. But my experience has shown me that through thick and thin, Councilman Bliss has come through time and time again. And I'll to piggyback on what the one gentleman was saying, there's a disturbing phenomenon happening inside our city, and that is that there's this idea that we have to, the police department and the community sort of have to mend fences. I don't know what city you're talking about. It's not the city of Madison Heights. I never knew that there was a problem here. I don't know why we're making a problem when there isn't one. That doesn't mean that we don't need to address cultural concerns that are occurring in our country. I just ask our community to just sort of not take on any more guilt than there already is. There's guilt being lathered on ad nauseum, and we are not the country to be pointing fingers at ourselves. We are the most diverse country on this planet in the history of humanity. I am a product of it. This country adopted me at a young age. And so that is why I'm so vocal, with all due respect. When I hear this kind of stuff, when I hear insane suggestions that we should take the blue lines off of police cars and first responder vehicles do those lives matter less than any other lives? And so we're all adults here, and we're all good people operating in good faith. And so as a citizen of this community, as a member, a business member of this community, that's why I'm so invested in it. I just want to make sure that people understand when we're saying things about these United States, what are we comparing ourselves to? Because context is extremely important with all of the worthless content that we hear on either side of the political divide. And that's all I have to say. You all have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, next up I have Cindy Holder. Cindy, are you there? Cindy Holder, I thought I saw you. Oh, Cindy, are you there? Unmute yourself. Cindy Holder, I see your name. I don't see the mute button. Are you trying to, I don't hear you. I will come back to you. Is there anybody else before? Is there anybody else?
Hello?
All right, Cindy?
No, this is Amy Lewis. I would like to speak, but I'm remotely on my phone and didn't know how to raise my hand, but to unmute.
Okay, all right, Amy, you go. Cindy, we'll come back to you. Amy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Hi, this is Amy Lewis from 1399 Christine Terrace, and I also have been listening to the comments and been, doing some heavy thought over this. And, I've only been in Madison Heights for a couple years now, but from what I've seen, and I'm from the Madison Heights cleanup group, and headed that up with a couple, good friends now of mine in Madison Heights, which I truly appreciate. But I do have to say, with Mayor Hartwell being out of the country or out of town during that crucial time, and with everything that the citizens came to me and our group about, and what I dealt with communicating with the city with Ms. Marsh and Mayor Pro Tem Grasstein, I think that in my personal opinion, I don't see why there would be any reason to just, she was appointed to that position already by this group, by this council. So I don't see what the issue is and why we are forcing a special election when, in my mind, she has performed her abilities and done a great job for the city. Now, whether or not Councilman Bliss and has the skills and abilities, I'm sure he has. But in my experience and what I've seen is she's the Mayor Pro Tem, and why we have a Mayor Pro Tem traditionally is to step up in specific cases like this and not force a special election. So I don't know what the council was really thinking to put somebody in a pro tem position and not simply appoint them to the mayor, in the interim time. So I just wanted to speak up and say I support Ms. Grafstein and appointing her, but I know that we've moved past that. But like I said, no disrespect to Councilman Bliss, but in my experience and what I dealt with the whole electroplating services in the cleanup, in my communication with Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein and some of the other members in the council, I was very much impressed, very much appreciative of the public communication and all the efforts that particular council members did to make sure Madison Heights was able to be taken care of with the state and with the US EPA. So I just want to say I appreciate that. And I do feel that, we're making a mistake by pushing a special election, but that's my opinion and my opinion only. But I wanted to say something here, but thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you, appreciate that. I'm going to try again for Cindy Holder if she is. Cindy, I see your name and you're not muted. Okay. All right, is there anyone else before we go to Cheryl?
Mayor Pro Tem, can you hear me?
Amanda S?
Yes. Yes.
Amanda S, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to express my support for Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein, and that I don't see any reason to hold a special election when she's already proven herself capable through the whole green ooze situation. And by the way, she continues to show up for the city as mayor pro tem in this, as the mayor position has been emptied. I also just want to thank the city for their support of the food pantry, as Colleen and Vita have already stated. And again, I just wish that we could have this vote tonight and not and settle this distraction for the city in this time of uncertainty. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to try for Cindy Folder again. I feel like I'm going back and forth here. Okay, Cindy, you're on mute. Do you want to unmute and try? Okay, is there anybody else before we go ahead to the clerk? All right, Cheryl, the floor is yours. I believe you have three or four comments you were going to read into the record.
I had 4, but one of the gentlemen spoke, so.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so the first one is, I'll read this is from Robert Levitt. And he said, to understand the situation, I live at 29314 Shirley Avenue, which backs the property of Central Church on 12 Mile Road. At the time listed above, I know, which was July 4th, 2020 at 8:30 p.m. At the time listed above, I noticed fireworks being set up at a baseball backstop near the northeast corner of the church property. I spoke to the man setting up the fireworks, telling him that if any debris from the exploded fireworks landed on my property, that he would not like what I had intentions to do, and I did not want this fireworks show. I will add that I have complained about this in past years to the city council, where my yard was littered with spent fireworks and many pieces of it on my roof, which could cause a fire. As the show began at dark, the fireworks were exploding over my property, which I immediately called the police 3 different times, fearing a fire at my house or garage. I phoned the police again. This was the fourth time, who informed me they had dispatched an officer who investigated, stating they were not breaking any laws. I have to explain that the officer investigated from the church property, but not my property. Also, it was dark out, making it difficult to judge exactly where the projectiles were traveling. The following morning, I investigated my backyard, finding spent fireworks debris in 3 places. One piece was only about 3 feet from my house and was still burning when it landed, burning a small area of my grass. Looking at my neighbor's yard, I also saw several pieces of firework debris. I phoned the police again, requesting a police officer to witness what I found, and I asked for a police report, which I have enclosed. After the officer left, I looked at my roof, finding a larger piece of debris. I have to add that my street looked like a war zone from all the fireworks exploding in my neighborhood. This is a residential district where this should not happen. Many of my neighbors, including myself, have pets. The extreme noise is not tolerated at all, causing visible shaking and in some cases vomiting because of the extreme noise. Talk about animal cruelty. This is hard to tolerate. I am a tax-paying member of this community and I feel like I have no rights. You will also see signatures from my neighbors who are also against this insanity. And then he also provided the office with the debris. All right. The next person is from Darren O'Connell. My name is Darren O'Connell. I reside on Manor Drive, Madison Heights, Michigan. With all due respect, the term conversion therapy is derogatory more than descriptive. It was coined by critics to describe professional efforts to help people with unwanted same-sex attractions or unwanted gender identity confusion. This would be like white supremacists calling the civil rights movement the Black aggression movement. Nonetheless, for the sake of clarity, I will use the term conversion therapy in this address. A major problem with the ordinance is that it assumes that everybody who has same-sex attraction or transgender issues wants to be homosexual or a transgender person. This assumption is false. Organizations such as Changed consist of numerous members who were lifelong committed homosexuals or transgenders that are now committed heterosexuals at home with their biological gender. Many, if not all, have done so with the help of counselors. As in all counseling, there are some abuses, but the abuses of conversion therapy are greatly exaggerated. Certainly, nobody should be forced to get counseling against his or her will, but this ordinance deprives people who want counseling the freedom to obtain it. Under this ordinance, if a 16-year-old girl desires counseling because she is not comfortable with her same-sex attraction or is confused about her gender, she would be denied her right to obtain such counseling, which itself could lead to a suicide. The irony is that under the ordinance, she can only obtain counsel promoting her same-sex attraction. This is biased to promote homosexuality, even if the patient does not want it. Furthermore, it is not within the purview of local government to regulate counselors. It is the responsibility of the state and industry experts who sit on governing boards. The state of New York enacted a similar law, but then repealed it on the basis that it knew it would be overturned as a violation of the US Constitution. A vote of no on this ordinance is not a vote against the gay and transgender community. Rather, it is a vote in favor of self-determination and right to choose. I respectfully request that the council vote no on this ordinance, or in the alternative, add the following provision thereto. A person shall not be held liable under this ordinance if he or she first obtained written or audio consent of the patient to such counseling. A person shall not be held liable for comments made to a group of 2 or more people made in a setting that is open to the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you. One last time, I'm going to see Cindy Holder.
Oh, I got one more.
Oh, okay, in a minute, Cindy, if you're there. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Sorry.
Nope.
All right, this is from Tina Maddox. I am writing this letter to let you know I'm opposed to removing the thin blue line on the police cars. I am quoting here, quote, "The first appearance of the thin blue line dates back to the early 1900s when the United States Army marched into battle in their blue uniforms. Together, standing alongside the soldiers, formed a blue line, thus beginning the history we know today as the thin blue line. In the 1950s, the thin blue line emblem was established to symbolize all law enforcement personnel, similar to the Red Cross symbol representing all medical personnel. The thin blue line embodies the unbreakable component of law enforcement, standing as a safety barrier between the law-abiding citizens of America and the criminally inclined," end quote. It's just a symbol, and the interpretation of symbols can change. Just because people interpret it in a negative manner doesn't make it that. I believe if everything does not have to be turned into a racial issue, we can start having unity as a neighbor, city, state, and country. With that being said, I again repeat that I am opposed to removing the thin blue line. I fully support and believe in our Madison Heights Police Department. They put their lives on the line for each of us in every day. Thank you, Tina Maddox.
Anything else?
Nope, all done, thank you.
Okay, all right. Cindy Holder, you want to try?
I'm gonna try. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Hey, I actually had to get in on my phone.
Okay, go ahead.
I do want to support the not changing the thin blue line. The other thing that I had is I was a big proponent, as you know, about not having a special election. I've changed my mind after just watching these few meetings. The last meeting that we had, one of the callers saying just simply because the men should fall on the sword and let the women or one of the women do it. It's kind of gotten crazy. I think maybe we've gone beyond reason. Every meeting somebody can have someone show up and tell them the 10 reasons why each and every one of the board or city council members maybe should be the mayor. I think we've just proven that this has gotten out of hand. This is, I guess the unrealistic part of the mayor pro tem is temporary. It's a temporary stand-in. It's not a full-time stand-in. The mayor pro tem is when the mayor's out. Well, the mayor's out for good. That seat has to be declared open. And obviously, if there can't be a reasonable decision made, then it needs to go to this special election. It's unfortunate that this has changed my mind. But I think we need to, everything is getting crazy. The rainbow flags and everything else. We need to be equal, respect everybody as equal. I personally think that maybe some groups want to be special, which is where the problem comes in. I think if all of us look at each other and appreciate each other as we are, a lot of this will go away and it'll be much to do about nothing. It might resolve itself. That was all I needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in public who wanted to speak tonight? All right, this portion is closed. We have no communications. We have D1 reports. City Manager Marsh. There's a resolution to support participation in the Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes. The Weyland Foundation hosts a National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Now in its 9th year, this event will be held August the 1st through August the 31st. It's a friendly, non-profit competition between cities across the country that uses a series of online pledges to see which city can be the most water-wise. Cities compete based on population. The city with the highest percentage of residents participating in the challenge will be entered to win thousands of dollars of prizes. Pledges are to be taken at www.mywaterpledge.com, and the city has scheduled a series of videos as well as social media posts throughout the month of August to remind everyone to take the pledge.
All right. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilor Rohrbach.
I move that we support the participation of the City of Madison Heights participation in the Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation.
Great, thank you. Is there support?
Mayor Pro Tem Grasstein.
Councilwoman Clark.
I'll support.
Thank you. There's been a motion made and a support for the resolution to support participation in the Weyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem Grasstein.
Councilwoman Clark.
This is fantastic. I'm very excited after seeing Ferndale come out with their resolution to become more carbon neutral. I think it's very exciting that we're starting to fall in line with that line of thinking. This is a great start. I'd also like to get some tips from Ferndale on how they plan to do that as well, but I'm really excited about this resolution and I hope it passes tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Marsh, do you have the video? Is that available for this evening?
I have the Mayor Pro Tem video that we started, but I'm not sure I can show it, but I'll try.
Okay, thank you.
It doesn't work.
Okay, well, she's figuring that out. Is there any other discussion from council on this? All right, I'll go. So back in what I now refer to as the time before, which would be the pre-COVID, oh, wait, I'm gonna stop, wait.
Okay.
Got it?
Oh, I forget. The sound does not work when I do this.
That's okay, the sound is, oh, no, there is sound, there's speaking. We can show it and then we can put it on the website and people can hear it. It's basically just talking about that we're in this challenge and why it's important to conserve water. It's probably better with the
yeah, we'll post it on social media. I forgot the last time we did the video for LGBTQ plus month. When I'm zooming and I'm also trying to show the video, it doesn't work. So it'll be posted throughout the month of August.
Okay, is that something that we could share late this evening? Like personally share? Or are we waiting until August?
Well, we were waiting till August the 1st because that's when the pledges start counting. So if people go out,
we don't want people to do the pledge now. Okay. All right, technology. Gotta love it. So basically the Weyland Water Challenge, it's back a few months ago, Mayor Hartwell mentioned this to me, and there was going to be some kind of an event at one of the schools. It was actually one of the last things that was planned and then canceled for, I guess it was the beginning of April. And then I was contacted a couple of weeks ago by the foundation directly. So, so I did sign up to take the pledge, talked about it. I mentioned it last meeting, talked about it at the Environmental Citizens Committee. And there were a couple of actually residents who said that they were interested. And then I just reached out to a couple people in the city and we did up a little, I think it's about 45 seconds, a video about the importance of water conservation and that kind of thing. So, I mean, everyone knows I'm a bit of an environmentalist. Water's never really been the big one there, but obviously it is important. And there's just a lot of things that I think we need to do with water. And pretty sure a few weeks back, 3-4 weeks ago, we had a lot of water on the streets. There are a lot of concerns. And this is something where having some kind of rain gardens and natural systems in place can help with that. So this is just a pledge to sort of encourage people to be more water aware, I guess. Any comments from other members of council? All right. Clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Okay. Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilman Bliss.
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next up, we have from the city manager, a resolution to create the Human Relations and Equity Commission. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Staff was requested to create the Human Relations and Equity Commission and a separate task force. The Human Relations and Equity Commission would duplicate much of the objectives of both the existing Crime Commission and the Multicultural Board. Therefore, this resolution would create a new Human Relations and Equity Commission with 2 other agenda items to dissolve the Crime Commission and Multicultural Advisory Board. The Human Relations and Equity Commission would be advisory to the City Council. They would recommend programs, policies, and activities that promote positive human relations and equitable outcomes and opportunities in all aspects of community life. The commission would consist of 5 voting members who are residents of Madison Heights and represent our diverse population. Ex officio member would be 1 city council member. The city manager, police chief, and/or other staff may attend meetings in an advisory capacity to staff and the commission to offer direction and administrative services. Applicants should detail their interest and/or experience and shall apply for either the chair or the general member position. Further, the police department is in the process of working towards a professional accreditation through the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission. This program consists of 108 best practices across all areas of policing. Through this program, we must implement the best practices and prove we have been adhering to these policies and practices. After the proof has been gathered and submitted to the Accreditation Commission, a group of auditors will review all of the policies and proofs of attaining the standards, including record and call review and physical inspections. This process will be ongoing through December and possibly into early next year. Once the audit is completed, we will be given a report with findings that includes community-specific programs and concerns. Findings from this evaluation shall be given to the City Council and shared with the Human Relation and Equity Commission. A task force of law enforcement and legal professionals shall be created to review this report and supplemental findings based on Madison Heights' specific needs. If council concurs with the recommendation, the appropriate motion would be to approve the resolution to create the Human Relation and Equity Commission and subsequent task force. As a reminder, approval of this commission will also require the City Council to approve the resolution and ordinance to combine the Crime Commission and Multicultural Board into the Human Relations and Equity Commission.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Councilwoman Clark.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution to create the Human Relations and Equity Commission and subsequent task force this evening.
Great, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Councilor Rohrbach.
I support.
Great, thank you. There's been a motion made and support for resolution to create the Human Relations and Equity Commission. Is there discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Councilwoman Clark.
This question actually would be for Melissa Marsh. So I just would like to know if you can give us a little bit of insight on the activities of the 2 commissions that we are looking to dissolve, and so that the Human Rights and Equity Commission would absorb those responsibilities. Can you tell me about their activity and what they've been doing over the past few years and how active they've been in the community?
Well, I will defer the Crime Commission to Corey Haynes, who I think is on the call because he is the staff liaison for that committee. But the Multicultural Board's relatively new. I think we started it in 2016, maybe, and it never has really taken off. And much of the resolution to create the Multicultural Board was used to create this Human Relation and Equity Committee. Some of the verbiage is even exactly the same. So they would very much cross over. It's almost identical, some of their focus. But the Multicultural Board, I think it's fair to say they kind of struggled to find their way at the beginning. We do have a new committee and did meet once, but this committee would be overlapping and doing basically the same kind of things. But for the Crime Commission, I'll defer to Corey about what they've actually been doing for the past couple years.
Chief Haynes, could you take a moment and just let us know, please?
Yes, so the Crime Commission has been active with the Police Bicycle Rodeo. They've also been active. They've had and worked with the Madison Heights Community Coalition on a couple other events, bringing a human trafficking seminar to the city, and also bringing Narcan training. And they've also, done a few other things. The biggest problem we had with Crime Commission was that we couldn't get a quorum for quite some time. So the commission was basically stale until we were able to redo the ordinance and reduce the number of people needed to have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I seem to remember when I came on, was it when I came on to the Crime Commission, we changed the number so that we had a smaller number of people for a quorum. Is that?
Yes, that's about the right timing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think the biggest thing I remember from when I was my time on the Crime Commission was we have, and unfortunately we still do, but the whole issue with the hotels, and this is something I actually talked to Councilman Soltis about, and I looked into ordinances in other cities, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, somewhere, nowhere near Michigan, but I looked into ordinances there, and I had the Crime Commission look into that as well, and we did that. We updated our ordinance to reflect that, to help with hotel crime, and my understanding is it went down. I think it's maybe on the rise again, but at least it did help at some point. So that was good. And I just want to make sure that Mr. Fleming made the comment that if we are getting rid of the Crime Commission, that that any functions that they do serve still can be served. I know, we didn't do this year, the bike rodeo, but just make sure that they do have the opportunity to do that, because I wouldn't think of the bike rodeo or human trafficking so much as what this new board would do. So I just want to make sure that they will encompass the crime concerns there. And then Mr. Soltis, I believe you were the one who initially started the Multicultural Board. Can you maybe just give us a bit of background on that, and what was happening with that, and why you think it didn't work, and why you think that this new board is going to be successful, or if you don't?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we started that, Melissa, what was that, 2014 or something, 2015? I mean, Ben was still the, what's that?
It was either 2015 or 16.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we had the good intentions. Tony Austin actually was the elected chair. We had some internal disputes going on. And so it just kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. And it just didn't get the momentum back up again. So, I mean, in theory, I think it was a good thing. And I think it could have done a lot of good. But it just is, again, it just didn't get off the ground in terms of public participation. And so we left it at that.
Pro Tem Grafstein.
Councilwoman Clark?
Just a couple more things. One, I do agree that if the Human Rights and Equity Commission absorbs the Crime Commission, that we would take on all of those popular events and things that we did for the community, so that those good things could still go on. I would just like, just so that, Corey, if you can just give our audience the layman's terms, when you said you couldn't get a quorum, it just meant that you didn't get the right attendance. So I just wanted to say, we would be, instead of having 3 commissions, we would have 1 commission that would take much less people to get going. And I can tell you, I know over a dozen residents who are ready with applications to get going on this as soon as it passes. So I'm excited to see it pass, and I'm excited to see some of the activists in our community get involved and actually put the work in to make the changes that they're looking to make.
Great.
Your
Thank
Honor.
you. Counselor Rohrbach.
Hi. So I am currently the council representative for both of these boards, and I have to say, the people that are currently on those boards have been tireless workers for our city, have done so much, and I really appreciate their willingness to be a part of the city and the good things that are happening here. And so I definitely want to commend those that have taken up positions in these boards over the years, and it's by no fault of their own. I think that they both of them have struggled over the last few years. We recently had a person resign from the Crime Commission who had expressed that he was frustrated because it didn't have the same kind of back and forth with the police department that they had in the past, because in the past there was an opportunity. They would look at crime patterns and talk with the police about it, and it was some of that. And while that was really useful at the time, over the years our technology has actually helped the police department to identify patterns and things like that they might not have seen in past years. So the time and technology and just the way that the city is functioning has changed so much over the last many years that, you know, the Crime Commission in its current status had really good things to add to the city, like the education and participation in the bike rodeo and the Narcan training. All of these things are super important. So I'm really glad to hear that we're wanting to roll those into this Human Relations and Equity Commission. And then secondly, with the Multicultural Board, you know, our city is a beautifully diverse community, and I am so proud of that. And I think one of the challenges with the Multicultural Board was its name. In the end, it was, when people heard it, they thought, oh, multicultural, and they wanted to experience cultural things to do with that, and not as much having to do with looking about how our city interacts with the cultures of people who live in this city. And while I think the intention was that in the original crafting, the people who wanted to join the board didn't see that as much as what their role would be. And so it became a conflict. Our people that are currently on the board, we did meet one time before the pandemic hit and after I was elected. And you know, the folks that were there were really excited to get started and to start doing some things to promote the diversity of our community, or Asian food festivals and things like that. And I definitely think that that is still something that we can do, but maybe through a different forum. But what I have been thinking about is that this new Human Relations and Equity Commission's role, as City Manager said, it would be as an advisory to City Council to recommend programs and policies and activities that promote positive human relations and equitable outcomes and opportunities in all aspects of our community life. So the focus on the positive relations between the city, including relations between police and the community, that's really important to all of us, I think, because our police have been doing an incredible job. And they've been working towards being the most inclusive and responsive police force that we can have. And I think that people on this call and on this council believe that our police force has done a really good job of being proactive in this field. And at this time in our city's history and in the current environment of our entire country and state, I think it's so important that we have this commission, because it's going to kind of include the best of what we wanted from the Crime Commission, what we wanted from the Multicultural Board, and what the community is calling for now, which is open and responsive communication between the police, the city, the elected officials, and the community, so that we all have a united ability to move forward and tackle challenges that are that we may face in the future, and be proactive about coming up with solutions before they are problems. So I think that's really important. And so I want to assure people that I'm going to vote for this because I think that it's going to be what we had and even better. So that's all I got to say about this.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else, any
Your
other?
Honor.
Your Honor.
Mr. Corbett, I think, was it?
Yeah, I think Mr. Bliss is there too, but
Oh, okay.
let me just, I'll just be quick.
Sure.
I think with respect to the work product from the Crime Commission, it's like any of the other committees or commissions we have in the city. It goes up and down, the enthusiasm and the interest over the years. You get a fresh group of ideas and people in the room, or maybe there's an incident in the community, in the real world, and they're energetic. I mean, for how many years did we see members of the Crime Commission at the festivals, working for public relations with the police department? They used to be over at Costco all the time. It was mentioned the bike rodeo, and a number of other activities. Then people would get tired, volunteers get tired. And then you hit that lull again. So, and to dovetail on something that the Councilor Rohrbeck was saying, the only thing I would caution though is, given the era that this new committee or commission is being developed in, that it stick with the positive and that it not become adversarial. That'd be a short trip to elimination. We need to be a community cooperating. All the voices have to be at the table. We need to come to it honestly and with open minds and without prejudgment. And like I said, as I look around, I turn off the TV like a lot of people anymore after a couple minutes because I just can't take that. But we need to be open and honest with one another. We have a great police department. I fully support the work of the chief, the women and men over there. And furthermore, throughout the policies and the other aspect of this new committee, in terms of evaluating our performance and our openness throughout our hiring and work practices. Not only do we have issues that necessarily reflect on color and racial differences, but we also have to be aware of workplace conditions between women and men, and those who have different lifestyles and how they're being accepted within the workplace. All this comes under this umbrella. So just a long way that I urge some serious caution and an open-mindedness as we go forward. I will support it, the motion, and I remain hopeful, and I think maybe we should circle back and take a look at this again in a year or two, see how it's going, see how the track record has been, and possibly tweak anything that may need changing. But I think it's a good idea. My congratulations to the proponents of this. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'd actually like to do an annual review of all our boards and commissions. I think this is something that we had talked about a couple of years ago, and one of the changes that we did make is that most of our appointments to the boards and commissions are done twice a year. They're done in February and in August, so we're coming up on another set of those in the next few weeks. I think I'd like to get an idea. Actually, this is probably, I don't know if I should say it now or closing comments, but you reminded me of it, so I'll just throw it out there now. I'd like to get an idea from everyone, with the different boards and commissions, just sort of a snapshot summary of what they've done in the last 6 months or the last year. Just an idea of who's done what and what some of the plans may be going forward. Obviously, if we'd had that conversation in February and then COVID hit, there'd be a lot of changes. But I do like your idea of doing the review. And I think maybe that's how we do it, is we do like an every 6 or 12 month review of all of them, not just of this one. Any other comments?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ellis, go ahead.
Yeah, I 100% agree on the review. When we undertook the review of all of the missions and resolutions of every board, that was a year and a half ago, it was really predicated in part because there were some boards that needed some tweaks on that mission. I think to that point though, this this is a great idea. And I think as we're talking about it and hearing that we're going to try to maintain all of the good that the Crime Commission is doing and has done in the past, you know, Councilman Corbett's right, there's ebbs and flows. You know, the Arts Board has gone through it even a couple of times in its short tenure, where you had new members coming on, old members coming off, and that influx of energy is kind of important. But because we're saying it, it doesn't state it in the ordinance or in the resolution that we're looking to pass. I think that's where some of the confusion came in from members of the public. Much of this is centered around the diversity and all of the things I think as was mentioned by the city manager. It's heavily pulled from the Multicultural Board resolution that we did to create that. What I'm not seeing in here, if you look at 9, so section 9 of the resolution that we're voting on, what the committee shall do, it doesn't include anything in there from what the Crime Commission was doing in its purpose. So I'd like to make a substitute motion to adopt as written with the additional change under 9G. So the addition of 9G, which would add the purpose listed on our website for the Crime Commission, which is to study the crime situation in the city, make recommendations for its prevention and elimination, and develop citizen cooperation in law enforcement. So making that addition as 9G, everything else stays the same, but then that hopefully gives clarity that nothing is going to change from the Crime Commission, that this new board is just merging the best of what both of those boards are doing into this new era.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein?
Councilwoman Clark.
I'm happy to add that to my original motion.
Okay, Councilor Rohrbach, I believe you were support. Are you okay with this amendment?
I am.
Okay. Is there any other discussion regarding this?
Your Honor,
Mr. Sherman?
if Councilman Bliss is agreeable to the amendment, since the maker of the motion and support have agreed to the change proposed, then he should withdraw. The substitute motion should be withdrawn.
Yeah, as long as it's included in the original motion, I'll withdraw my substitute.
Thank you.
Your original motion has been amended and support has okayed it.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just to the point of information, the city clerk's office has done annual reviews of the boards and commissions in the past. Then when we overhauled the whole boards and commission process, we did not conduct that review over the last year and a half. So that is something that we could institute in the future again. We just wanted to give it a chance to find out how our new structure was working before we reinstituted that.
Okay, would it make sense then? Our next meeting is in August. It is August 10th. So we have the 10th and the 24th. Would it make sense for us to have this on, and I don't know if this is really even the appropriate time to ask this question, but since it's part of the discussion, would it be appropriate to add that for the next meeting or the meeting after when we do the appointments, maybe have sort of 2 sections? Spent a lot of time in the meeting talking about it.
That'd be up to the city manager, but I don't think it's necessary to have a motion because we've already been doing it.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
It's going to be the last meeting in August because we have a thing called an election on August the 4th. So that's the deadline for the next agenda.
Gotcha. No, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Thank you for that clarification. That we did do it and then we stopped. All right. Must have been too early in my time to remember that. All right. Is there any other discussion regarding the resolution for the Human Relations Equity Commission? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilman Bliss.
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Next up from the city manager, resolution to dissolve the Multicultural Relations Advisory Board. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
The newly created Human Relations and Equity Commission duplicates many of the objectives of the Multicultural Board. Therefore, we are recommending that this advisory board be dissolved.
All right, what is the wish of council?
Mr. or Madam Mayor? Your Honor?
Councilman Corbett.
Oh, I had to look, see if I was unmuted. Yes, I would move to accept the recommendation and adopt the resolution to dissolve the Multicultural Board.
Great, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach.
I support.
Great, thank you. There's been a motion made and support to for a resolution to dissolve the Multicultural Relations Advisory Board. Is there discussion? We covered it in the last motion. All right. Clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Soltis,
Yes.
Councilman Bliss,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grasstein.
I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, F1 bids and awards from the police chief, the purchase of K9. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, staff and I request that council approve the replacement of the K9 officer Grimm due to his recent retirement. In the past, the Madison Heights Police Department has purchased all of our canines in training from Von Lick Kennels in Denver, Indiana. We are requesting to sole source this service and continue to use Von Lick Kennels for the amount of $15,096. If approved, there will also be an additional $3,000 that would be expended for veterinary clearance and equipment.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Mayor Pro Tem Grasstein,
Councilwoman Clark.
I'd like to make the motion that we purchase the K9 off the, with training. Is that the appropriate way to propose
Yes.
that motion? Okay. That.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Madam Mayor, support?
Councilman Corbett, thank you. A motion has been made and supported for the purchase of the K9 unit with training. Is there any discussion? We'll probably ask Chief Haynes to speak, but before he does, is there any discussion between council?
Yes, well, this isn't council, but the motion needs to include that it'll be purchased from Von Lick Kennels. We're sole sourcing this purchase. We're not doing a competitive bid, and that needs to be included in the motion.
Yes, please add that into the motion.
Fine by me too.
All right, thank you. All right, so before we ask Chief Haynes if he would like to comment on this purchase of the K9 from Fawn Lake, is there any discussion between council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Bliss?
Yes. First and foremost, K9 Officer Grimm has absolutely earned a little bit of retirement. And when we talk about sole sourcing, the majority of time I'm opposed to that because we're going with one vendor. We're not opening it up. We are kind of eliminating the market from being able to provide us with the lowest price for the highest quality. But in a case like this, it makes a lot of sense for us to be able to sole source it. And so I support it for that reason.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Your Honor.
Councilwoman Clark?
Ms. Rohrbach can go first.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to echo Councilman Bliss's gratitude to Officer Grimm on his service, and that I'm pleased to hear that the Von Lick Kennels have done well for us in the past, and this is a continuation of that, and knowing that their training and the work that they have done has been exemplary for our canine officers. I think that it's a good thing that we're going with a known entity in this instance. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Clark.
Thank you. I met Officer Grimm, and he's the most adorable dog I've ever met. My family and I love him. We follow him on Facebook. I think it's a great idea, and I think if we were to avoid a special election, we would have plenty of money left over to purchase this canine.
Great, thank you. I think the last time that I saw Officer Grimm was in the fall at the Fire Station #2 open house. But I know that he deserves this retirement. It's well deserved. Chief Haynes, is there anything you would like to add to this before we take our vote?
I guess the only thing that I would add is that we have been going to Von Lake Kennels for the last 4 canines that we've had. So since I was the first canine handler all the way through Officer Lewis being the last canine handler, we're looking to select our new canine handler at the end of this week. And then it's our hopes that, and I believe Officer Lewis is going to go with the new handler to select the next dog from Von Lake Kennels. So we've just had a great run with their training, and the dogs that they have supplied us have been absolutely superb.
Chief Haynes, before Officer Lewis, there was a gentleman who was the canine handler. His son is a park ranger. Is that right?
Yes, that would be Sergeant David Fuller.
Okay, so I remember seeing him outside of the police department, outside of his uniform, not having his dog. And I said to him, I said, hey, you're the canine dog guy. So it's, they get around, the officers and the dog get around. People see them, people recognize them, even when they're not in uniform. So I think this is an important part of our community, and I'm happy to support this. Is there any other comments coming from council members about this? All right.
I have another comment.
Please.
Mayor. So I failed to mention, just for the public's benefit, I know council knows this, that this funding is coming from our state drug forfeiture funds. So that is not coming from the general fund money. Just FYI.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh, for bringing that up. And Chief, sorry to put you on the spot again. Can you just make a quick comment about how the drug forfeiture funds work, and what, just explain in layman terms what Mrs. Marsh just said, just for the benefit of our residents?
Sure. These funds are coming out of our state forfeiture fund. And basically what that money is from is we have an officer in the Oakland County Narcotics Enforcement Team. And every year, all of the forfeitures that they have made for drug forfeiture money is pooled, and then it's split out among the cities that are part of the Narcotics Enforcement Team. And also our Special Investigations Unit, they have been extremely instrumental with a lot of forfeitures that have come from human trafficking. So all that money is then received into the forfeiture account, and then it can only be expended for tools and equipment and items like a canine that can be used to combat drugs.
Okay, and what is council's role with the drug forfeiture? Is that something we need to vote on to be part of this, to approve those things, or how does the drug forfeiture work, that part of it?
As far as I know, I mean, the drug forfeiture comes in, it's generally one of 2 ways, either through court action or through voluntary consent. And then those items are deposited into a specific account that we then are responsible to report to the state. And we also have a federal side too, where we report federal monies. All of that is handled internally in the police department, and then is also part of the annual audit by the state. So I don't think council would obviously approve any expenditures greater than $5,000, but as far as anything else goes, I'm not aware of any other oversight other than the state.
Okay. And that's annual, so that's something that you would do for the June or the July 1st year.
With the state, it's actually every calendar year.
Oh, okay.
With the federal side, it's every June 30th. We do the report shortly thereafter. So that's the one we just completed, was the federal side.
Okay, that's the one that I just signed off on then, the federal side, not the state one.
That's correct.
That's right. Okay. I can't bring it up on my screen to see. Okay. Thank you. All right. Are there any other comments from council members at this time? Chief Haynes, nothing else, Mrs. Marsh? Okay. Clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Bliss,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Council Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Greifstein.
I vote yes. It passes 6-0. Thank you. Up next, G, ordinances. G1, Ordinance 2161, prohibition of conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or the equivalent. This is the second reading. Can I please have, what is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Soltis.
Excuse me just one second. You might want to have, maybe you might want to have that read, the comments read into the record by Ms. Marsh. Right?
Oh, the ones from the public comment?
Well, what you
No,
would
I
know-
have city manager comments and I'll read the
Oh,
resolution.
I'm sorry.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, I lost the word.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mrs. Marsh, sorry.
An ordinance to amend ordinance 571, being an ordinance to codify and adopt a new code of ordinance for the city of Madison Heights by amending chapter 16 titled Minors, article 1 titled In General, sections 16.6 through 16.15 titled Reserved of the Code of Ordinances, City of Madison Heights, Michigan, to prohibit a healthcare provider from treating and or engaging in the practice of conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or their equivalent to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity, including but not limited to the efforts to change behavior or gender expression, or to reduce or eliminate sexual or romantic attractions or feelings toward an individual of the same gender. The treatments and or practices prescribed herein do not include counseling that assists a minor undergoing a gender transition, counseling that provides acceptance, support, or understanding of a minor, or facilitates a minor's coping, social support, or identity exploration and development, including neutral intervention to prevent or address unlawful conduct or unsafe sexual practices, or counseling that does not seek to change sexual orientation or gender identity. A healthcare provider who violates this article is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment of not more than 90 days or a fine of not more than $500 or both. A healthcare provider who violates this article is guilty of a misdemeanor. I just said that. Should a majority of City Council desire to approve this proposed ordinance to prohibit conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or the equivalent, then the appropriate motion would be to now adopt Ordinance 2161 on second reading.
Thank you. And now, what is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Soltis.
Yeah, I'd like the council to pass on second reading the ordinance 2161, prohibition on conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or the equivalent.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Councilwoman Clark.
I'll support.
Great, thank you. A motion has been made and supported to pass on second reading ordinance 2161, prohibition of conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or the equivalent. And I'm going to go first on this one. My apologies. I think that I just didn't want to stomach listening to what Mrs. Marsh had to say about torturing someone to change the way that they feel. Is there any other comments from council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Corbett.
Mr. Sherman, Mr. Jeffrey Sherman, I think you drafted this, right?
That is correct.
All right, if I could just ask a couple of questions. We got a communications earlier today from a resident. As I read the communication, I kept waiting for it to go off the rails. I'm just sorry, in this atmosphere, you just assume that folks are going to do that, and it never really did. I thought it was a reasonable critique from a very narrow standpoint. My support for the prohibition of the conversion therapy was based on the concept, and still is based on the concept, that it's coercive by nature. In other words, you aren't voluntarily coming in seeking treatment, you're being roped into it. And we've all heard the stories where, heck, I think they've even had movies about it. I was wondering if you might talk about how this ordinance addresses coercive behavior, either by family, friends, that kind of thing, versus voluntary seeking of treatment. Is there a line being crossed there?
No, there's no line being crossed because this ordinance is limited to minors. And we took into account that if an adult wants to have this type of therapy, there's nothing really we can do about an adult being prohibited from having it, even though most medical associations will say that the therapy is useless and does not work. So that's precisely why we limited the ordinance to the treatment of minors who have no freedom at all to decide for themselves and are usually forced or required to undergo such treatment. So in that way, you're right when you say it's coercive. I do think, unfortunately, I appreciate, I saw the email late in the day. I do think it went off the rails in the following sense, is that there was a comment in there that the irony is that under this ordinance, a person can only obtain counsel promoting her same-sex attraction. This is biased to promote homosexuality. That's what
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that and I thought, well, okay.
Right. I thought that that was some concern to the author. And I don't give much credence to the example that he gave, that a 16-year-old girl wanted to be converted as opposed to being forced into being converted into something that she is not. I asked the council the last time, you were not present, Councilman Corbett, but I asked the council the last time, how much therapy would it take to convert your orientation? And the answer, of course, is there's no amount of therapy that could do that. And the same applies to gay people. They think of it the same way. They shouldn't be subjected to this type of therapy.
Yeah, okay. I accept that as far as that goes. Again, it's the coercive treatment and the objects of treatment and the limitations of treatment and the motivations for treatment are beyond, I think, the purview of this council. I think what's persuasive to me, just because of where that could go. I mean, we may all be happy with the protecting rights here, but tomorrow I wonder if it's something else. On the other hand, though, the coercive nature with respect to minors, though, is very troubling to me. It's almost inevitable. I don't know how you avoid that problem. If you take somebody in for what is at best specious reasoning, and obviously a 16-year-old, as he gave the example, doesn't get any say in the matter, that can very well be very open-minded. But all right, I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Sherman, just to clarify, so if this mythical 16-year-old girl was going through different feelings, as many teens do, and thought, I think I may be attracted to my own gender, I want to talk to somebody about that, just to sort through my feelings and see if I am, this would be permissible.
Yes, Your Honor, it would be permissible. The ordinance does contain an exclusion section, which I think the city manager referred to, and that is, it says nothing herein prohibits a healthcare provider to counsel or treat minors in a manner that provides acceptance, support, or understanding, or facilitates coping, social support, or identity exploration and development, including neutral intervention to prevent or address unlawful conduct or unsafe sexual practices. It only prescribes the therapy, the alleged therapy, to change a person's sexual orientation.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Are there any other comments by council members? All right, clerk, if you could please take a roll call vote.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilman Bliss.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, Ordinance G2, Ordinance 2163, Dissolution of the Crime Commission, first reading. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Only one sentence. The newly created Human Relations and Equity Commission duplicates the objectives of Crime Commission, and therefore with the creation of the new commission, staff recommend that the Crime Commission be dissolved on first reading.
Great, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor, I move
Councilman
that
Corbett.
I move that the council adopt on first reading ordinance 2163, which will dissolve the crime commission.
Great, thank you. Is there support?
Mayor Pro
Your
Tem
Honor.
Grassley.
Councilwoman Clark?
I'll support.
Great, thank you. A motion has been made and supported for ordinance 2163, dissolution of crime commission, first reading. Is there discussion?
Your Honor.
Councilman Bliss?
Yes. So just want to make sure that when we, assuming this passes on second reading, and we already did with the multicultural, let's ensure that we get certificates of appreciation out to everybody who served on those boards. They've done a good job. They've given it their best in many cases, and so I want to make sure that they're appreciated as we dissolve the boards.
Great. Is there any other discussion, council? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis,
Yes.
Councilman Bliss,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grassley.
I vote yes, motion passes. Thank you. All right, no unfinished business. Next up is the minutes, special city council meeting minutes from June 29th. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Corbett?
Oh, wait a minute, I wasn't at that meeting, or was I?
You were.
Yeah, I was at that one.
You
okay.
were. That was the closed session. You were.
Okay, I would move to approve the minutes of the meeting, a special meeting of the 29th as printed.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your
Mayor Pro
Honor.
Tem Grassley.
Councilor Rohrbach?
I support.
Great, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the special city council meeting from June 29th. Is there discussion? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis,
Yes.
Councilman Bliss,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grassley.
I vote yes, it passes. Next up, the regular city council minute meetings from July 13th. You get a motion for that, please.
Your Honor.
Councilman Bliss.
I move that we adopt the minutes of the meeting of 7/13/20 as printed.
Okay, is there support?
Mayor Pro Tem Grassley.
Councilwoman Clark?
I will support.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the regular minutes of the city council meeting from July 13th. Is there any discussion? City clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Soltis,
Yes.
Councilman Bliss,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grassley.
I vote yes, motion passes, thank you. All right, seeing how there is no more business before this council, I invite closing comments. We are going to continue the way that we do if we're all here, starting with Councilman Corbett.
Thank you. A couple of things. My apologies for my absence at the last meeting. We had a little family emergency, not involving me, but something I had to attend to. So I appreciate the consideration of my colleagues from the last meeting. Over the weekend, I was surprised. I encountered at the door a petition signer looking to get me to sign a petition. The gentleman, and then it was followed up the next day by a lady, informed me that Madison Heights was one of the 2 communities in the state of Michigan that does not allow marijuana sales at all. I was a little surprised to hear that, as I pointed out to them that there would be marijuana sales in Madison Heights if the buildings were built yet. But factually that was wrong, and I suspect that there's probably more than 2 cities in Michigan that have opted out. So the next day when the lady came by, I did my best I asked if I could speed read the language of the petition, and not being an attorney and my speed reading skills being somewhat rusty, the best I can tell you about what's going around is essentially if I read the petition correctly, it would essentially uncap sales in Madison Heights. It would allow numerous as I read it, approximately 9 retail locations and a number of stack licenses under that. If I counted correctly, it was somewhere in excess of 30 some licenses total, growing, transportation, so on and so forth. Regardless of how you feel on the issue of recreational sales in Madison Heights, you're not getting told the correct story at the door. I mean, from my own ears, I looked at him and he said, well, how do you know? I said, well, because I read the correct ordinance and I know the guy who wrote it. So I would imagine that the current licensees, the current 2 licensees that we have in the city probably would not be very happy to hear about this either. It looked like it was an ordinance revision, not a charter revision that we faced before. It's up to everybody else, but you need to know what's going around. I have to tell you that I did not have a good read on it. To the best of my knowledge, staff has not had a chance to look at it and analyze it. So I don't have a clue, candidly, what this is all about, except that it's probably going to be met with some opposition, not only from people who generally don't like marijuana sales, and probably the current licensees won't be very pleased about it either. So read it carefully if you're at the door. This is not simply a petition to get you to whether or not you like marijuana or not. That's not the issue on this thing. It would, if I read that correctly, there would be any number of additional licenses being issued. So just so you're aware, it's I don't know what's in it, but it is going around, and I believe the deadline is very soon, either tomorrow or Wednesday, one of the two. So we'll find out, I guess, soon enough what that's all about. And congratulations to Officer Grimm on a well-deserved retirement. He not only did the dog and his handler do excellent work over the years in helping to combat crime within the city, it was also a great public relations tool. The kids loved the dog, and the department marketed the officer well with the trading cards and everything else. So big fan, happy for his retirement, and go Tigers, I guess. Hopefully they're winning tonight. That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bliss.
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, I agree with Councilman Corbett. I think that there's a little bit of misleading language, it appears, as these petitions are circulating. Just as a fact, our current ordinance allows for up to 3. 2 facilities are under construction. We haven't done an application period to even allow for the 3rd yet, but there is an active ordinance right now that does allow for it. This would 3x that. So just be cognizant of it. You're probably not going to see it after tomorrow because that's the deadline. So if you see it, just be cognizant of it and make sure to ask them the appropriate questions. Second, I was really excited with the Human Relations and Equity Commission. Being able to move our boards forward is really important to me. I was also really excited that my request for a task force was included. I'm excited because that allows law enforcement officers to be sitting on the same task force with professional activists, folks that are like defense attorneys that can see from different perspectives. And what's going to happen before that, and I know we glossed over it a little bit, it wasn't a part of our discussion, but what's going to happen before that is the police department is in the process of getting a professional accreditation. This is from the, and let me read it to make sure it's right, the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission. There's more than 100 best practices that this accreditation is going to go through, and then they're going to present their findings from that audit to us. And that's the moment when that task force is going to get involved, because they'll be able to look at that audit from the lens of Madison Heights specifically, our specific needs and problems, our own officers, our own policies, in our own community. And so I'm really excited to see what that's able to facilitate for us as far as discussion wise, and hopefully all 3 of those things in concert, the accreditation, the task force, and this new board, allow us to be able to progress further as a city. And I'm really excited about that. My second thing tonight, speaking of progress as a city, through some hard work from some pretty amazing volunteers in our city, the Friends of the Madison Heights Public Library is having their first meeting in years. I think that's tomorrow night at 7. If we could make sure that that information is posted on our social media tomorrow, it'd be great if some people can join. That's effectively the nonprofit arm of the library that allows for them to do some fundraising, things like the book sale that we do every year. But they haven't had a meeting in years, and this is going to be really exciting. Hopefully the amazing volunteers that are spearheading this will be able to help progress us in that area as well. Also, the Arts Board is doing something pretty cool right now. Everybody's hopefully seen or heard of the DIA pieces that are throughout our city now at 4 different locations. 2 parks, a library, and the best barbecue joint in the city. Right now we're doing a thing because we can't get together. We were going to do some bigger programming around it, but because of social distancing right now, we had to get creative. Through some innovation from the Arts Board, they came up with a great contest that only requires you to do a few things. The first is to visit one of the DIA pieces. The second, take a selfie of you next to the artwork. And then third, just tag the Arts Board in a post. If you do that, you'll be entered to win some Arts Board swag, things like this water bottle I've been drinking out of during the meeting, a new one, obviously, or some of our t-shirts, stickers, that kind of fun stuff from the Arts Board. So please participate in that. You can visit the Arts Board Facebook page in order to do that. Finally, I want to give a special shout out. My son, Alaric, turned 6 yesterday, and he's done an incredible job of being quiet through all of these virtual meetings. As you can imagine, having a child that young, these type of virtual meetings are a little bit more difficult for them to stay contained in our small house. And so props to him, and I'm giving him a public happy birthday. I hope you'll join me in wishing him a happy birthday as well. I'm going to play this back and thank him for being so good for so long. And I know he's excited to see what happens with school in the fall. That's it, Your Honor. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Councilor Rohrbach.
Good evening. I just want to say this is, I'm just incredibly disappointed this evening in the decision of council to not consider the appointment of our mayor pro tem to mayor. I really understand that other members of council would like to have the appointment for themselves, or they have different reasons behind it, but we did not have the opportunity to have that discussion tonight. I would like to have a lively public debate about this and to even put forth another option besides special election, because I don't want to spend $20,000 on a special election. I think it is outrageous. And so I find this entire process right now to be disingenuous and frustrating from my position. Just simply not being willing to have a discussion about it in public. And so I'm going to tell you why I think that we should have had this discussion, and why I think Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein has done a fantastic job. She's done a great job as Mayor Pro Tem and now as interim mayor for the city of Madison Heights. She was appointed to Mayor Pro Tem in November of last year. I was the only one who didn't vote for her as Mayor Pro Tem. And it has nothing to do with my thought process behind her ability to do the job. So I just want to say that, everybody here on council was, okay with her doing the job. And now if we go to a special election at some time in the future, Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein will be acting as mayor and doing all of the job of mayor between now and whenever that special election may or may not come up, without the compensation that is due to the person who is doing the job of mayor. And I think that is unfair and irresponsible of council. Also, I want to say that, when Mayor Hartwell was absent for an extended period of time this past winter, the EPS, the electroplating services disaster came to the forefront. Ms. Grafstein did an excellent job. She jumped in with 2 feet and she attended every single EGLE and EPA meeting regarding the issue during the day. She listened to the concerns of residents and made sure those concerns were addressed properly in those meetings and then were communicated back to the community. She did site visits with the officials and communicated back to council and the community about what was going on and how it was being handled. In short, she was exactly what our city needed. Prior to her appointment as pro tem and continuing since that time, Ms. Grafstein has attended trainings offered by the Michigan Municipal League, by SEMCOG, and other organizations dedicated to informing elected officials about our opportunities and responsibilities of the job of city council. I think most of the other folks on council, I've attended since my election in November, I attended 2 Michigan Municipal League council trainings, but I don't know if anybody else on council has done that yet. Additionally, Ms. Grafstein has the advantage of being available day or night with issues coming from the city. Personal employment gives her the flexibility of not clocking in and out or going to an office at regular hours. She could be at the disposal of the city at any time. And since her 2017 election, she's been at just about every single community event, every public event, every fundraiser, even before she was appointed pro tem. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Grafstein has been visible in the community at the Madison Heights Pantry and continuing to push forward the priorities of the environmental improvements for the city with the Environmental Citizens Committee and during recent demonstrations for racial equity in the community. Ms. Grafstein is a passionate advocate for progress. She has improved the quality of life for our residents, and she works towards business development and has experience to lead us through the next year until our next regularly scheduled mayoral election. At that time, I believe that residents of Madison Heights can select a new mayor and choose to keep her on or not. But there's no reason, in my opinion, to appoint any, just to not appoint someone because of what? I don't understand the choice right here that this council is making. I do not understand why, just out of hand, without discussion, we're not even going to consider appointing Ms. Grafstein as mayor. And it is frustrating to me as a member of this council, and the implication that somehow I only want her because she's a woman is ridiculous and untrue. I mean, I am a woman, and it would be nice to sometimes have women represent me in elected positions, but that is not by far her only thing that recommends her to this position. And if she's done an excellent job so far, and no doubt would continue to serve the city responsibly, responsively, and with integrity. And I hope that, if there's an option, I don't know what it is at this point, to avoid a special election, but I would really like to see us do that. And I'd really love to see the council members reconsider their position on not even allowing this coming to a vote. That's all I have tonight.
Great, thank you. Mr. Sherman, City Attorney?
Your Honor, nothing from the City Attorney's office this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Marsh.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to let everybody know that we are going to be having a virtual town hall on August 11th from 6 to 8. Details will be published soon. That will be a town hall with EPA and EGLE to follow up on the 10-mile site to let everybody know what the plan is there going forward and kind of where we are today. So as I said, that will be posted hopefully by the end of this week as we finalize some details on that. It will be available online, much like this council meeting. Also, if you're interested in the new Human Relations and Equity Commission, you can apply right now online, and that will be posted and promoted tomorrow on our social media. That's about it.
All right, thank you. Clerk, Mrs. Rotman?
Yes, thank you very much. So if you are interested in applying for the new commission, just enter the name of the commission under the other box because it hasn't been added to the form yet. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So we are in the process of reappointing and appointing members to the city boards and commissions. If you are interested in participating, there are several boards and commission vacancies to be filled, including the Arts Board, Community Development Black Grant Review Committee, Construction Board of Appeals, Elected Officials Compensation Committee, Environmental Citizens Committee, Historical Commission, Information Technology Advisory Committee, Library Advisory Board, not that one anymore, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Tax Board of Review, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. If you are interested, applications can be found on the city's website. Please use one application for each board you are interested in applying for. All voting locations for the election on Tuesday, next Tuesday, not tomorrow, next Tuesday, August 4th, will be open. However, there have been some polling location changes that the voters need to be aware of. Precinct 2 has been moved from the Korean First Central United Methodist Church to the Active Adult Center. Precinct 6 has moved from Madison Solberg Tower to the Madison Elementary School. And Precinct 10 is moved from Simon's Elementary to John Page Middle School. The map of the locations and addresses are available on the website, or you can call our office. If you have any questions, it's also been updated on the state's website. If you have not registered to vote, you can still do so, but you have to do so in person at the city clerk's office, and you must have proof of residency to be eligible to vote in the August 4th election. The clerk's office will be open additional hours this weekend from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Saturday, August 1st for election business only. So please come in, register to vote, or get your absentee ballot. As a reminder, Michigan is an open primary state. You do not have to declare a party to receive a ballot. However, you must only vote for one party on that ballot along with the nonpartisan section of the ballot. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Clark.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to first start off by saying that as of 8:45 p.m. this evening, the Madison Heights Food Pantry has achieved 501c3 status. They are a nonprofit organization. What started as a community group of 4 or 5 people championed by Amanda Stein to make sure that during this COVID crisis that our hungry residents would not go without food has grown into serving more than 1,000 people a month with as much food as they can handle. And it's just the most heartwarming group that I have seen come together in the city. We have several members we have dozens of members who volunteer to deliver food, pick up food, call for donations. The team is just absolutely incredible, and I cannot thank them enough for bringing this to our city and making it a big part of making sure that we close those disparity gaps between our residents who have trouble affording food. The second thing I want to do is echo every single sentiment of Emily Rohrbach, Councilwoman Rohrbach. She's absolutely correct. Rosalind Grafstein is extremely capable of being mayor. In fact, 6 out of 7 of our city council members voted that in the event that a mayor was not available, that she would step in and she would play the part. And in December, when our mayor went on planned vacation, we went through a really big crisis with a toxic spill in our city, and Rosalind stepped up to the plate and she handled it amazing. And as you can see, we're about to have a town hall to see how they're going to take care of that cleanup. Other cities in the state of Michigan are still waiting for this cleanup, and Rosalind Grafstein championed it to the bitter end, and I'm really excited to see it move forward. Shortly after the mayor returned home, the mayor himself and several members of city council were on a mission to try and discredit Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein and remove her from her seat with a perceived notion that she had some sort of conflict of interest. And despite our attorneys coming back with the legal opinion that there was no conflict of interest, and despite the fact that Rosalind Grafstein has now signed the affidavit removing her from any conflict of interest for that class action lawsuit, they continued to try to discredit her, humiliate her, intimidate her, and try and get her to resign before a legal opinion was even reached. To me, this sounds really bad. We're a team. We're not competing with each other. We're all on the same team, and we're all working for the same community and do the same things. Yet several members of our city council took it upon themselves to make this a priority during a toxic spill crisis, and now we're moving into COVID-19. So despite having to handle a crisis her first month of pro tem, despite being intimidated, harassed, and bullied and threatened by other members of council, she got through that. Not only did she get through that, but she shows up to every single event that we have in the city. She volunteers her time to plant berms and community gardens. She volunteers her time to the emergency food pantry. You can see her at every ribbon cutting. She has conversations with members of the community. She's an exemplary person for mayor, and we already voted for her to take that spot. I'm extremely disappointed in council and not even bringing it up for discussion tonight, because to me it seems that there's some sort of agenda here, that there might be a member of council who feels entitled to this position, that maybe he's too afraid to go out and compete for the spot on himself and earn the votes, like Mayor Pro Tem Grafstein did when she became Pro Tem. So I hope City Council can come together too and make a decision to appoint our Pro Tem as mayor, so that we can move on past this and get over it. And I hope that the rest of our members of council who maybe participated in the event of first months before this decision that we have to have a new mayor, tried to remove her as Pro Tem and install someone else as Pro Tem before this event happened. So it just seems a little gross to me. I hope that we can all come together and work as a team, because when we are working as a team, we do a lot of good things. Oh, last thing, I'm starting a Don't Forget to Vote campaign. So you'll start seeing information from me that I'm sending about all the candidates in this August 4th election that's coming up. I will be referencing ballotopedia.com, because ballotopedia.com not only lists the candidates that you can vote for in the different areas that are available to vote for, but it gives you information and personal details on the candidates that are there, what they voted for in the past, all of their accomplishments since they've been in office. To me, it's the best source to give you a real informed decision on who you should vote for. So I suggest you go to ballotopedia.com and enter your address so you can get detailed information on the candidates that will be available on your ballot August 4th. And please don't forget to vote. You'll see more information coming from that in the future. And I plan to contact every candidate that's on the ballot for our area and see if I can't get a 20-minute interview with them to ask 20 questions to help inform our voters. So keep an eye out for that as well. And that is all. Don't forget to vote.
Thank you. Councilman Soltis.
Thank you. First of all, I want to talk about, in my opinion, the police department, without a doubt, is necessary. If we didn't increase our police department, we would not have saved our city from human trafficking that was infested in our hotels for years when the special investigation unit was closed, as well as our the FBI task force, where we have an officer in that, and so they do a fantastic job. There's no way you can our city can defund the police department. I think I also agree that we need to keep the blue line because it is about officers that were killed in the line of duty. And the fire department have their own red line. So I think it's important that we honor that tradition. Just a quick note, I read that 65 police officers in America, United States, died in the line of duty as of June 2020. I also like to request the city manager or even the police chief or the legal counsel to investigate what exactly were the facts that resident accused the council person of being involved in some unethical or possible criminal behavior. So I really like to find out what that was about, because I don't have social media. I don't know what he was talking about. So I don't know if I need a second motion. City Manager Marsh.
Sorry, I was muted.
I'm sorry, do I need a second to have you try to get the facts, or the legal counsel or police chief, somebody to investigate what that accusation was?
To get a legal review or a legal opinion, I'll defer to Larry, but yes, typically you have to have a second to do that. So yes.
Your Honor.
Anybody in council want a second?
I think Larry had a comment that he wanted to make.
Mr. Sherman?
I thought he did.
Your Honor, if it's, my opinion is that it's just a request to gather information for staff to do a report or gather information concerning the statements made by the the person during meeting open to the public. I don't think Councilman Soltis needs a second. We often during round robin ask staff for additional information on items.
Okay.
But whatever the pleasure is of council, I don't think it's a formal investigation. I think it's just looking into what it was that the citizen, the person making the comments was saying. I'm not familiar with what he was saying either.
Okay, so can I request that then, please?
Yes.
And third, I'm glad the council's looking at an ethical ordinance, over a view of the ethics of council, I see. So then we don't have cases of false accusations and derogatory public statements, anything on social media. All this stuff would be inappropriate, and hopefully that ordinance would be able to prevent any of that from happening. That's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments tonight. Corbett, I appreciate the comment that you made regarding the boards and commissions and how, and I believe Mr. Bliss also commented that this happens with the art board. You get new people on, you have the ebbs and the flows. A lot of times you have new people who come on and they just have that zest, that energy. They really are interested in the arts board or in crime or in the environment or whatever it is. And they're really gung-ho. And it's great. And there's a lot of contribution. But then what can happen is over time, it becomes a bit stagnant. Oh, it's another arts board. And that's how people may start to feel. And sometimes they resign. And sometimes they just stay on. They've made this commitment. Maybe it looks good on a resume. I'm going for a computer job and I can say I was on ITAC. So this happens. And I think this is a big reason why we need to have a review and why I would like to know what the members of the boards are doing. So knowing that someone has been on a board for a certain amount of time is great. I believe when we did the review last year, we said, well, if they miss a certain number of meetings, they need to resign, or we're going to ask them to resign. But one of the things is you can show up and not do anything. So we had several people who were on the call today who called in and chose to speak. And we had others who called in to watch and to not speak, which is fine. They are members of the public and it is absolutely their right to speak, and it is not their responsibility to speak. But when we're looking at a board, people need to come and they need to do something. Making the statement, I'm on ABC board and I went to all the meetings. But what did you do at the meetings? What ideas did you come up with? And maybe you didn't have ideas, but you participated and you did something, or maybe your ideas, you looked into it, you shared it with everyone and people weren't interested, but at least you tried. And I think that's a big thing that we need to look at. So I'm going to renew my request that when we are doing the appointments, that we also have the members who are on provide an update of what it is they've been doing with relationship to their board. So if someone's on the arts board and they've been doing things with the library, unless they're connected, that's not really something we're interested in. So that's something I'd like to ask. And at our next meeting, which will be Monday, August 10th, I'd like council to come back as well with the same kind of thing, just letting us know what you've been doing in the community for our residents. There seems to be a concern from the veteran members of council that I don't have the experience to be mayor, which is fine. They are absolutely entitled to their opinion. However, I'm a bit confused as how I don't have the experience to be mayor from now until November next year. And that would be mayor with a new pro tem and a full complement of council, 6 members of council and a mayor. But I do have the experience, or perhaps experience isn't the concern there, perhaps it's just the skills I do have the skills to hold the dual role of acting mayor and mayor pro tem. So, and I do have the experience to do that. I did that in December, I did that in January, I did that in February, and I've been doing it for the last month and a half. So absolutely, I have that experience. And I know that Councilman Corbett and Councilman Bliss were both pro tem for, I believe, 4 years each. And they would have chaired meetings, they would have officiated at weddings, they would have stepped up for a temporary time. But I would like to actually hear from them so that they can help me, because I am definitely looking for support from the entire council as we navigate these new waters of having a semi-permanent acting mayor pro tem. I will be looking to Councilman Corbett and Councilman Bliss for advice from them on how to navigate that, because they would have been in this position when the mayors were gone, when they were absent, and they have that experience. So I definitely want to get your help with that, with your experience, perhaps at the next meeting, actually not perhaps. So I'm now requesting that at the next meeting, you provide, and I'll do this as well, but just provide an outline, summary of how you handled being acting mayor pro tem during your 4 years. I don't have the 4 years experience as pro tem. I
Your
don't
Honor.
have experience on, yes, I am still speaking. I am still speaking. It's actually my turn to speak. You spoke earlier. So am I allowed to continue in my speaking? Should I ask the chair of the meeting that? Oh, I am the chair of the meeting. So I don't have that 4 years experience. What I have is almost 3 years experience, and I have 8 months experience as pro tem. And during my time on council, I have represented the city on multiple occasions, both with Mayor Hartwell and in his absence. And as he said at the State of the Cities, this time round, the role of the pro tem in the absence of the mayor was different. And he was referring to my stepping up with the hexavalent chromium spill that has been alluded to tonight. And it's been mentioned, and I will repeat it, because not only did I represent the city in Warren at the weekly update meetings, but I requested, and I actually chaired a closed session so that we could receive the update on the legal situation. And beforehand, gave the public an opportunity to share their concerns about that contamination. And then even after he returned, I continued to take the lead on the issue. I was at the weekly meetings, every weekly meeting in Warren until after the EPS held their town hall. And I was the only member of council who went with City Manager Marsh to Lansing when we requested cleanup funds from the Appropriations Committee. That was an invitation that was made to every single member of council, and nobody else went. Actually, that would have been when Mrs. Clark was having her medical situation, and Mrs. Rohrbach was also planning on going, but she had a personal situation she had to attend to last minute. She actually called while we were in the car driving there to let us know. So it was her plan to be there. No other members of council were there. With the weekly updates, Councilwoman Clark showed up at every one of those weekly updates in Warren. Councilor Rohrbach called into, I don't know how many, but I know she called, as did Councilman Corbett. They both found the time to call in. Councilman Soltis shared with me what his concerns were. Councilman Bliss did not. Mayor Hartwell was away. When he returned, he either came to the meetings or he called in. I met with residents, I met with the press, I met with elected officials, the locals from other cities, the nearby cities, with our county. I spoke with our state senator, our state representative, our congressman on a regular basis. I was speaking with them. But there's also the normal types of things that I've done. The Bloom Project, you know, all the MML courses that I've taken, which is another thing I would like council at the next meeting to please provide us, or perhaps I can just get this, Mrs. March, perhaps you can provide this to all of council for the next meeting. When I started 3 years ago, I had never heard of the MML, and I expect that the bulk of our audience has no idea what that is. And Councilwoman Scott said to me, there's something called MML, it's the Michigan Municipal League, and there's something called SEMCOG. They're the Southeast Michigan Council of Government. You need to learn about government. You need to learn about how you can work with other levels of government. You need to learn about all these different things, and you need to grow a network so that when you have a situation in your city, in our city, there's someone that you can talk to. These are really important, and I took that to heart. And if we hadn't been COVID canceled, then in March, I was going to accept the award for the Elected Officials Academy Level 1. I had wanted to do it within 1 year. I got it within 2. But I would like to see what levels the other members of council have. I'm guessing that Councilor Rohrbach has only been to 2. She's just been on for a couple of months. Councilwoman Clark has been to, I believe, 1, but perhaps there have been others because, again, she's just started. But I would like to see the education that and the workshops that the other members of council have gone through so that they can help better the city. In February, I believe it was, Councilor Rohrbach and I joined Mayor Hartwell to represent Southeast Oakland. We were with Ferndale and Hazel Park council members when we were at the State of the County in Pontiac. Again, this was something available to every single member of council. The mayor went, I went, Councilor Rohrbach went. I don't know why the other members of council could not find time to be there. Last year, I was the sole representative at the State of the Counties. It was kind of neat because in hindsight, it was Brooks Patterson's last. The mayor wasn't there. The mayor pro tem wasn't there. Every single member of council who had far more experience than me wasn't there. Where was everybody then? Why were they not at the State of the County? You guys know what I do. I'm repeating myself because you know this. And I don't know if you know of every single one, because I started to feel that I would come to council and I would say, oh, I did this. Oh, I did this. And I wasn't hearing it from other members. And maybe it's something that was ingrained to me, that in my implicit bias from my parents, that you need to educate yourself. Maybe it was the impact that Mrs. Scott had on me, that it was important that I educate myself with this. I would go to MML events and people would say to me, you're Madison Heights, you must know Margene. She was so big in that. She was on council for over 20 years. And this was important to her. I made it important to me. And I didn't just go to the workshops. I didn't just participate in the workshops. I was invited to join a task force for economic development. I served on the work skills task force. That one I invited myself to. I asked if I could join that one, but that was great. That was great because it's so important with everything going on now that we need to have lifelong learning. And now with all of this, with COVID, how many people are working at home that used to be working somewhere? We need to work on all these things. And I'm doing that and I'm trying. And I will step up as I have, and I will do the acting mayor pro tem role. But I'm going to need your help, okay? You're asking me to do the job of 2 people. I will do it, but I am asking for your help with this, for the 5 other members to step up, all right? I'm asking you to do that. Councilman Corbett and I went to the Oakway Fire Training in the fall. Believe that Mrs. Marsh and Mr. Hartwell did that the year before. Other members, if that's available this year, probably won't be because of COVID. I would like you to do that as well. Take a life in the day of a firefighter. Mr. Soltis, I know that your son is a firefighter. Perhaps you want to sit that one out for that reason, but I think it gives everybody an idea of what's going on, and I think that's really important. The MML conference, the first year I went, was Mayor Hartwell and Councilwoman Scott. No other members of council. Last year, it was just me. I went with City Manager Marsh. And again, maybe it's because other council members have been on for so long that they have been to so many of these, they don't feel they're getting anything out of it. But this year, the only members of council who were going were myself, Mayor Hartwell, Councilwoman Clark, and Councilor Rohrbach. So I would love to see everything that everybody else has done. I'd also like to take a look at, I believe that we're looking at what's going to happen with, what do you call it? We're looking at having different requirements for this new board. And I'm thinking that that's something that we might want to look at for all our boards, is just making sure that we have people who have the requirements and maybe more than just a general interest. Last year, I did the citizen planner course. It was something I talked to somebody about at the MML convention, and they were talking about their planning board and how they thought it was really important for all of their members to have that. So I think that's something that we should look at as well. What else is going on? EPS. Yes, in August 11th, we are having another town hall. I invite all of council to come to that. We have enough notice. It would be great if all of council was there. And it's online. The ethical ordinance that I asked the city manager to look at, I think that's a great idea. We need to have something in place. And I think we also have to be cognizant that there are people who make comments and don't realize that they're offending someone. So we do need to be cognizant of that. And I say that as a Jewish person who has stood there and heard people make comments. And sometimes I'm quiet and I think, you know what, just ignore it, whatever. And so I learned to let a lot of things slide, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I say something. And it's really a fine line of, do you want to say something every time you hear something? And there are people who would say, yes, every single time you hear something, you need to step up. And then there would be people who say, no, you know what, just pick your battles. And is this really a big deal? And did that person even really think too much about it? So sometimes I will say something and sometimes I won't. I am super excited that we're on our way to becoming a tree city. I am super excited that the adopt a berm idea I had a year ago, or maybe even more than a year ago, has been transformed by Yves Sandoval into the Bloom Project. And that this is just butterfly central. Even I'm noticing that I'm seeing more butterflies. It's really super cool. And I will definitely be putting that down as one of the things that I've done in my time on council. What else? What else? Oh, the whole flood litigation. I don't particularly want to rehash that whole thing. So I will just make some points here. I didn't know. Everybody knows I didn't know. That didn't seem to make a difference. I was being threatened. And later I was told that it was a false threat, but of course I didn't know it at the time. At the time, I was told I was being punished, and make no mistake, the word that was given to me is that I was being punished for something I didn't know about and couldn't control. The threat was false. My fear was real. So I want to take this opportunity to say to all the residents who contacted me afterwards, thank you for your concern. To the older folks, thank you for your maternal and paternal words of encouragement and caring. Really made me miss my dad. To the parents of the young children, you're right. We need to make sure that our children don't become bullies. I am honored that you hold me up as some kind of a role model, as some kind of a mentor for your kids. And thank you for recognizing that within minutes of my yelling, my couple of seconds of yelling, I did apologize and I acknowledge the negative feelings I was having. But I acknowledge them as frustration and tiredness and stress. And no, I didn't mention the sadness and the disappointment and the betrayal that I was feeling because of this threat that was hanging over me. Because even though I saw that this seemed to be some kind of a fractured situation, and I thought, no, I'm going to get through this and we're going to pull together. And I'm going to keep the secret, because that's what we do. We keep the secret and we say it will get better. Next time will be different. So when the refusal to put this, first of all, thank you very much to, you know what? Thank you very much to Councilor Rohrbach and to Councilwoman Clark for your appointment and your support. I appreciate it. I appreciate you putting it on the agenda, for understanding the way that Robert's Rules of Order work and the procedural way to do this. And I appreciate you doing that. I thought it would be nice if we could get the appointment before the 60-day mark so that we could fulfill this charter requirement. So it was a nice surprise to have that, but that's okay. You know, I've been doing this dual role for almost 2 months now. I did it before. I'll continue doing it. This time it's longer term. I'm going to do it with the support of all of council, because council has made the decision that this is something I may not have the experience to do, but obviously I have the skills. Mr. Corbett, you had something you wanted to say, please. The floor is yours.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Are you sure? The last thing I want is to stifle.
No, trust me, I'm fine, thanks.
All right. Then we have no more business this evening. I will see everybody here at our next meeting. That will be Monday, August 10th. Have a safe night. Good night. Meeting adjourned.